Welcome to another podcast featuring the channel Asia Women in Technology. 2023 winner and AI leader Priyanka Shah. With over 10 years in data and AI strategy, she's a Microsoft AI MVP and pioneering in Azure OpenAI and enterprise solutions in Southeast Asia. Her work spans innovative AI applications across industry. Without further ado, let's get started.
Hello, folks. Thanks for joining in another podcast with I Am Metro Cloud. I'm your host, Adnan Rafiq from New Jersey, and I have another guest. And today's topic is about generative AI, Azure AI, OpenAI. A lot of going on about AI. And we, at the same time, have a lot of concern about it. Data privacy, data security, ethical AI, and all that stuff. Today, I have another expert. She's the Microsoft Azure AI MVP. She's a subject matter expert. So today I have Priyanka Shah. She is from Southeast Asia, Singapore. She's been awarded as an Asian Woman in Technology for 2023, and she works for Evernote in that region. So I'm very curious to know and explore from her about the AI, and at the same time excited to be on my podcast. So welcome to the podcast, Priyanka.
Thank you, Adnan. Thank you so much. So glad to be here.
Yeah. So again, tell us a little bit about yourself. Why not just you tell us what is your winning of channel Asian Women in Technology? What was it for?
This is Channel Asia has this sort of a forum for celebrating women in technology across various domains. So you have technology, you have entrepreneur, you have rising star, you have championing diversity and inclusion in organizations. So as a part of the tech category, I was first nominated for my work partnering with Microsoft for a very wonderful initiative called as Code Without Barriers. So Code Without Barriers is a program which sorts of aims at reskilling people, helping them to upskill in the field of AI and machine learning. So as you rightly said, right, there's a lot of buzz, lot of hype about AI. And then how do you get all this new talent on board the AI bandwagon? So Code Without Barriers is one such program targeted specially at women, right? It could be young women who have taken a sort of pause in their career and then want to restart. So what is a good restarting point? You need to get upskilled in a technology which is upcoming, right? So Code Without Barriers was one such program which we partnered and which we actually, reached out to a lot of women across ASEAN countries. So it was Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, and probably around 70 to 80 women. I myself had given, one-on-one sessions for instructor-led sessions for AI 900 certification, AI 102 certification. So that was one part of Code Without Barriers. And then, of course, I am Microsoft AI MVP, probably in the ASEAN region, maybe the only women AI MVP, at least in Singapore, the only women AI MVP. And we had done a lot of work also for, Autism Resource Center, right? So which is basically trying to get the autistic people, which are borderline cases, right? So they are good, but probably a bit very specific in taking instructions. So we have done a lot of that work for embedding those people into mainstream. So that was also one of the aspects. And this was actually celebrating all of these holistic things: technology, Code Without Barriers, AI ML initiatives, technology leadership, community leadership, as well as CSR, corporate social responsibility.
Wow. Now, this is very inspirational, very interesting that you did like 80, 90 women one-on-one session. This is, and what time? Like a couple of years, a year, 2 year?
Yeah, so it was not one-on-one. It was like, a batch of women. So probably
Okay.
15 to 20 women in batches, but it was an
Wow.
instructor-led session. So probably, most of my day used to go there in those sessions starting 9 a.m. in the morning to 5 p.m. in the evening, sort of a thing. So yeah, maybe, I worked with Code Without Barriers for across 1.5 years to do that, and I still am partnering with them, right? Although I am now more of a mentor, trying to set up hackathons and trying to guide hackathon participants. But yeah, I'm
Right.
still in close
In,
partnership with Code Without Barriers.
yeah, interesting. I have some ideas which I will circle back, but that's pretty interesting. So I have one more question related to it before we jump into the actual business use of AI.
Sure.
So, like when you are doing the mentorship and conducting the session for the women in AI and all that stuff, so do you find, do they have interest? Do they like it? What's the high level perception when you go and teach them?
No, absolutely. Sometimes I have myself been so surprised by the quality of submissions which people have done, because typically, not only just the certification program, but also there are a lot of hackathons which we have set up to encourage people, especially women, students and women professionals, to participate and submit their solution to us. We verify, and then accordingly we give them opportunity either at internship or at a job, right? So I have been amazed at the kind of creative thinking and design thinking which all these young, old, or any women out there, they are doing. A lot of empathy. So just very one notable incident. There was a knowledge mining solution to be developed. It was a hackathon question, a challenge. And so most of the solutions, did what they had to, searching, giving search results from documents. But few of the women were also like, hey, what if I'm a visually impaired person, or I'm a person with disabilities and I can't really type into the text box? So they had given this voice characteristic, also voice feature, that I can speak and search, or the result is returned to me in the form of a voice message rather than a text message. So this kind of, out of the box thinking, this kind of empathy, I have rarely seen in any other or run of the mill certification programs or hackathons, right? And definitely there's a lot of genuine interest from women participants. So there were women who were sometimes, in the late 50s, and they were also very curious that, hey, I have been a homemaker all my life, but I take this as an opportunity to start something new. Maybe just for the interest of it, I might not do something commercially with this, but I want to get into the know of things, right? What is this? What will this do to me? How it will affect my children? What should I watch out for my children, the next generation? So yeah, a lot of diverse perspectives, and in general, the energy was quite effervescent. Very enigmatic crowd there, and yeah, I mean, I had fun, right? So there was a lot of curiosity, a lot of questions. The synergy was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting, and I can see your energy, and I can imagine that, and that's really sounds like something you're enjoying a lot. So now, looking at looking at your profile, and you've been a Microsoft MVP, and I know MVP, you really get into the weeds of the products, and so we'll keep it high level for the audience. But again,
Sure.
how the conversation goes. I'm just curious to know, are there any use cases and business cases you want to talk about the use of Azure OpenAI? What was the business case? And give an example, the implementation and adoption of these tools and technologies for the businesses in today's world, how companies are using it and leveraging
Yeah,
this
yeah,
today.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. See, Gen AI, I mean, it's just an year and a half old right now, but then it was really a revolution. Okay. And I say it because we have had business cases prior to Gen AI with AI, and then cut to Gen AI, the kind of speed and the kind of exponential accuracy and growth we have seen is just, I think it's just the start, right? It's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, we are at the start. We don't know where this will take us. And there are a lot of businesses who are trying to embed Gen AI into their mainstream business processes and challenges also. So I'll talk of two, three use cases which we can easily relate to, right? Which are, our daily enterprise challenges. So let's talk about financial sectors first. Okay. I'm directly jumping into the very, critical sector, because
All
finance
yours.
data is not something very easy to work with, and a lot of transaction, customer sensitivity, and customer confidential data. But in any case, so very simple use case, right? So you have these websites of banks, right? So all of these, your global, well-known banks. So you have their websites. and they have a lot of product information there. They could have their wealth management product and insurance product, credit card offerings, and a lot of other stuff there, routine information, annual reports, disclosures. Okay. But then still, you and me have often experienced this, right? So let's say I have a credit card of XYZ bank, and then I'm traveling overseas, and there's a transaction which was charged twice, or some transaction, which was a fraud transaction, and then we call the a call center, and then typically they are like, oh, this is a credit card related, fraud related inquiry. So they put you on hold, they transfer you to some other department. I have to repeat my story to the next department, and it's not a very good experience, right? And we have all experienced this. So now what banks are saying, right, before we actually go on to use cases like wealth advisory or robo advisory using Gen AI, let us look at the simple scenario. So I have all my information out there. Now, when a call comes in from a customer for these kind of things like, oh, my credit card expired and now you don't offer the same credit card anymore. So it was a great, I used to get a lot of points on fuel savings and stuff like that. So can you recommend some, similar offering to me, some similar product to me? Or I used to have XYZ card of some bank, and now can you offer something to me on the same lines? These kind of inquiries, product recommendations, or how can I be a privileged customer, a privileged banking customer, those kind of things. So instead of routing all these calls to agents and then, putting you on hold, what if when the human calls, like when the user calls and the branch manager is listening to his queries, the conversation, of course, with your, permission of the user, is being transcribed live. Okay. And the Gen AI is listening to this conversation. The Gen AI is now understanding, oh, this is a product related question. So it will look up the documentation. It will directly fetch the answer, give to the branch manager, and the branch manager can, without putting you on hold, he will give you the answer. Also, another advantage of this is the Gen AI is able to listen and transcribe the entire conversation, and it can give out business insights. It can give out recommended action items. It can summarize the conversation. It can also give tips for how the agent himself did, right? Like, was he able to answer the question correctly? Was he polite? Did he answer all the right questions? Sometimes branch agents don't even know what kind of questions to ask. So if I'm coming with a complaint, what is the checklist, right? Oh, did you do this? Did you do this? Have you sent a mail? Do you have the transaction ID? Those kind of things. That also, the process flow also they don't know. So they might refer you to some department or put you on hold, look at the documentation. Well, what if Gen AI is able to look up all these standard processes, policies, and then every time, these kind of inquiries come, it comes with all the check boxes for the branch agent to follow. And then after some time, when it matures, you won't even need the branch agent to do these kind of routine things, right? Maybe he'll be required for specialist things like, oh, now actually onboarding a customer or generating an SOW for some banking client or a banking, enterprise customer. All these routine things about, I want to close my credit card, I want to, report this fraud and stuff, can be taken care by the Gen AI itself. And I think it's a very simple but very powerful use case, which is giving me as an end user a better experience, and also as a branch agent, I might, my headache of looking up all of these diverse documents and all is offloaded. And this knowledge, mining, policy Q&A, and your enterprise documents Q&A is one of the heavily used, heaviest adoption use case we have seen. Everyone wants to do that, right? From defense, government, healthcare, because everyone has some or the other kind of public data available, procedure data, policy data. And, with the help of Gen AI, just get the right information at the right time to the right person. I think, so that is one of the use cases which we are seeing.
But at least in these 1 or 2 jobs are gone for sure, for the first line, I guess, for the repetitive task. That's what you have to accept. Like, those jobs are gone. But the user experience is going to be better. And that happens with the technology, right? There are no job security, even in IT and cloud. So people who do not learn cloud, they're learning the basics, they're going to lose the job. So that's the only thing the only thing constant in IT or tech is the change. You have to keep.
Exactly.
So that's one of those things. So again, And I think I've seen a lot of these cases, like we've seen Meta and all that, like they have the Facebook shops and all that. So everything is, they have a chat bot and automatically pops up and automatically answer you some of this question. So
Yeah,
which is good.
correct,
But
correct.
going back to the point, like banking and all that, they are trying to become more productive and want to give a better user experience when they have this repetitive question from customers. Hey, how do I do this? So basically, do they all have a same model of machine teaching, because the machine is responding to your question, it has already been taught. So is across the banking system is one machine model, or every bank is teaching their own machine model? Do you happen to know?
Yeah, yeah. This is a good question, right? And I think, it's again a sort of debunking a myth for a lot of, Gen AI adopters out there. Okay. So, see, when we talk of chatting with your own data, right? What we are saying is interact with your own data. Essentially, what you are doing is you are using the Azure OpenAI, but then limiting it to answer questions or queries from your own enterprise data corpus. Okay. It does not it will not answer any overarching question about your competitor banks, or who was the scientist who discovered the quantum mechanics, for example. So it the Gen AI which you are producing, or which we are developing for a particular bank using Azure OpenAI or any other large language models, foundation models, will be restricted to the domain information and the knowledge which you are exposing it out. So we have certain patterns called as RAG, which is called retrieval augmented generation, or RAG fusion, right? So which enable you to sort of restrict your field of inquiry to the documents you expose to the Azure OpenAI, right? And then a lot of these banks do the same things. And then, as you rightly said, there could be certain scenarios in which I want to train my own model. Okay, so for example, one of the global banks, they want to train their own AI model, fine tune their own AI model on the risk and compliance domain alone, or credit risk
Okay.
analysis domain alone. So then they have their own, fine-tuned models, right?
Right.
Again, they
Right.
could start from scratch. They could use some of the
Right.
base models and then fine-tune them. So each bank has a lot of alternatives how to build these kind of different models. Either use RAG, either use their own fine-tuned models, either keep everything on-prem and use open source models and build their, a Gen AI platform. So a lot of options, but all of these options are very secure. They have a layer of AI governance on top of that, responsible AI framework on top of that, which
Right.
ensures that in no case your data is breached.
So let's talk about a little bit more on that. This is my most favorite topic. You mentioned responsible AI. You also touch base on risk and compliance.
Yeah.
So can you dig deeper? How do they achieve, and what's the use case for that?
Yeah. So so these are two different things, right? So when I talk of risk and compliance, or when I talk of data sovereignty, so one of the roadblocks which we, as SIs or consultants, we face in Southeast Asia is Azure doesn't have a data center yet in Southeast Asia. I think Japan is the closest one, but then in Singapore specifically, we don't have a local data center.
Got
So
it.
all of my Azure OpenAI deployments are done in regions outside of Singapore. So for health and public sectors and banks and government in Singapore, there is this concern of data residency and sovereignty. So my data, whichever it is, non-confidential or otherwise, also can't leave Singapore to go to a deployment of Azure OpenAI. Let's say it could be
in a different region.
Yeah, Central US, for example, and then use the API and give me back the result. So that becomes an issue for us, right? So how do you then ring fence these things? How do you ensure that these data confidentiality, sovereignty, security, residency issues are mitigated? So Azure OpenAI itself, right? If you see, they have a lot of inbuilt guardrails for ethical AI. So they do all these. I mean, so first of all, they have a lot of things which people have misconception that, are you storing my data? Are you storing my prompts? So OpenAI is stateless. It doesn't store your prompt. It doesn't remember you. It doesn't remember your sessions, right? They have a feature of storing your prompt for 30 days only just to have content moderation. that also you can voluntarily turn off, right? So that AI content safety feature is there, right? Like I need to moderate what are you asking the bot? Are you training it on some harmful content? Those kind of things. But that also you can by permission you can turn off the auditing and logging of your prompts. Okay. So all of these things are inbuilt into Azure OpenAI. Okay. And then on top of that, we have our own guardrails, right? So, for example, when it comes to sensitive data, we tell the banks that if there is any PII data, you are going to cleanse it, mask it, double encrypt it, and give it out to us. We
So
also
let's
do techniques of pseudo
so let,
anonymization and a lot of
yeah.
other things. Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
So let's pause down. This is the stuff. Yeah. So you mentioned about masking and data de-identification and all that. So
Hmm.
so these are capabilities you're saying available when you deploy your Azure. So whoever system is going to be more technical, but these are capabilities. The systems, whoever is going to manage that, they have the capability. So for let's say if I have to mask something, so you're saying those controls or guardrails are available, then they can enable it. And then data, I'm sure encryption comes by default, so they can have that also. So no clear text data on top of the data is being masked. All these things you're saying are available today.
Yes, are available not as a part of the frame, like not as a part of Azure OpenAI framework, but then there are a lot of libraries there, right? Which you can use. So you have to enable it by
I
yourself.
see.
You have to
So we
write
are talking
Azure
about then,
functions or
yeah,
scripts. Yes.
you're talking about same shared responsibility model is
Yeah,
applicable
exactly.
here. Hey, this is what Microsoft is responsible by the customer. These you bring your data, then we give you the control, then you pick and choose. Like it's
Correct.
sensitive data, make sure you do this. If there's no sensitive data, you don't need to. So shared responsibility model within OpenAI we are talking about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for certain domains like government or defense where the data can't even go to cloud, whatever the data, it could be
Right.
just your defense policy related data, but it can't go on cloud. So in those
Yes.
cases we have done end-to-end on-prem implementation. So you have a lot of open source models, right? Open source
Okay.
models like llama 2 and mistral and falcon. So we have also enabled this kind of totally on-prem disconnected generative AI. So it involves a lot of GPU and
Right.
optimizations and hardware optimization, hardware costs. So it's a decision which we have to make, right? Like, do you want an isolated solution where you will do all the hardware investment upfront and then scalability will be a challenge? Or do you want to have a scalable platform in which you can operate on a hybrid mode? So my non-confidential public queries will be taken care of. Non-sensitive data and its queries will be taken care of by the cloud providers, and by totally sensitive and confidential queries will be taken care of by my on-prem platform. And both of them together will work in a way that it can answer any of my questions.
Nice. Okay, that's okay. Interesting. So same cloud hybrid option we have in Azure OpenAI. So businesses I can think of if there's a Department of Defense, a Social Security Office, or maybe the New Jersey state where we have our personal identifiable information like home address, phone, my driving license details. So it's up to them whether they wanna have it on-prem or in the cloud. But even what you're saying with the hybrid, the data can be in the on-premises data center, um, stay wherever it is. But when you make those API call and machine learning and everything can be done in the cloud and show on the graphical user interface on the screen. So
Yeah,
nothing is
exactly.
stored in the cloud. Only the AI and all this stuff is working and showing the
Exactly.
results. Correct?
Yes.
In my
Yes.
understanding is right?
Yeah. True. Yes.
Interesting. And do we have also the same identity and access management control, who are back and all those capabilities in OpenAI, where I can,
We do. Yes, we do. We do. So if there's for people who are curious to know about that, you can just go to Microsoft Learn, and they have a huge write up about responsible AI around Azure OpenAI. How each and every component is governed. How you can ring fence the access control. How you can give role based access control, granular access control, right from your vector databases to your indexes to your indexing engines to your uh, document stores, all of that. So it's a fantastic write up. I mean, if I start going into the nitty gritties of that, I would probably take an hour or so. But yeah, a lot of this is documented very clearly in all of the Microsoft documentation platforms. And yeah, I mean, I would encourage people to just go and read about it.
And out of curiosity, not necessarily you may need to know the answer. Out of curiosity, what have you seen so far? How long does it take to teach a machine or AI model? Like, is it a couple of weeks or a couple of months we are talking about?
Interesting, right? So I'll give you a statistic, and it's a real statistic for a knowledge mining platform which we have implemented for one of our oil and gas customers in Southeast Asia. So before GenAI, we let's say for 300 documents, to process 300 documents, so they have a lot of these technology standards and engineering diagrams related documents. So if I have to extract meaningful information out of it, which we call it as named entities, right? So named entities like type of corrosions or type of equipments, different departments like drilling, mining, oil drills and all of these things, okay? So for these kind of things, because we need to annotate the documents and then have ML algorithms written to actually extract these entities out from those documents, and then have some domain experts come and do the analysis of whether it has extracted the triplets correctly, entities and relationships correctly, and then if not, run again and kind of stuff. So for 300 documents, it used to take us close to 3 to 4 months to get a good quality extraction. This was before GenAI with your classic, text analytics and natural language processing algorithms. Cut to GenAI now, because you can teach a machine directly with the few short prompts, right? Like imagine you are a program which is able to extract triplets out of text, and then, for example, given this text, these are the entities, this is the relationship between entities, this is the final result I want. You're just teaching it by examples, like how you would teach your toddler or your children or someone of your colleague. So you are instructing it, and then I just need to give it a few instructions. By the second or third iteration, it has perfected the technique, and then those same 300 documents we could process in 6 hours. So the kind of exponential gain which we have had, because right now when you're teaching a machine, you're teaching it by instructions. Okay, so what we call it as instruct model. You have chain of thought prompting and different kind of few shot prompting. So it's very easy for it to understand few scenarios. Again, when you're fine-tuning models, yes, because you're fine-tuning on top of base models, you still need to go through the rigorous process of, my training data is there, then I'm training on a specific use case, and then I'm getting the final model. Yeah, but then generic in prompt-based teaching is quite easy. But when you have to fine-tune for something, probably a slightly longer duration.
No, this is interesting. No, I think, there's a lot to cover. As I said, this is like a never-ending topic, and if we talk, like, it's going to take hours and hours. But this was really informative. So before we move on to a little bit, 1 or 2 minutes, I want to spend career perspective. But give an example of a prompt, something. Something you think you have seen it, like as you mentioned, they are predefined, and you have to instruct, hey, act me like this. And then, so is there something your favorite prompt or something you have seen most common scenario?
So the best prompt which I see always is where it is asking for document summarization. Okay, so because you have this huge documents which typically your admin guys will be able to go through and summarize. Or the best prompt I have seen is what your Teams Copilot does. Summarize what I missed. Or if you are in the middle of a meeting and you are like, probably you got a call or something and you missed few things, immediately go to the Teams Copilot and type what are some of the action items on me, or summarize what I missed, what has been discussed till now. So very useful things to do.
So yeah, that's interesting. And what you just mentioned, my takeaway is that if Microsoft Copilots is all open AI underneath, basically, that's the Azure Arc infrastructure. So Microsoft has gone beyond and done a good job to pre-teach and teach the model, like whether you're using Microsoft Outlook or Team.
True.
Yeah, right. So this is like yeah, another a different area people to explore. And your example is a perfect example. Like give me the action items and then many more. Even when I use the Chat GPT 4 these days, I tell Chat GPT, hey, what if I write something, give me an explanation in the word of, we have a very social media marketing person, very famous in US called Gary V. I tell him how a Gary V would describe this, or
Uh,
how a Bill Gates would react to this or answer this,
Absolutely.
or
Absolutely.
give me a Steve Jobs version of this. So it does
True,
come up
true.
with because the machine has already taught their psychic, their style of thinking and everything is there. So that's another way. And I was like pretty shocked and just comparing the language it is spit out
Yeah,
terms
true.
of the text and everything. So yeah, let's spend a minute or two before we hang up. Somebody who wants to either transition or wanted to start their career, what would you recommend? Usually people get to me for the cybersecurity and all that stuff, not AI. But again, concept is same. People even have some bachelor, they have master, they don't have experience. I mean, what would you tell them to, in terms of learning, other than Microsoft Learn, project wise? What are those things they can do to really get into the market and have the good skills?
Yeah, see, one good thing with Gen AI is, that AI is democratized. So they put a lot of power in the hands of everybody, not just developers. So earlier, when, we used to be data scientists or ML engineers, uh, some of the tools and frameworks and Python libraries and deep learning and neural networks and all used to be our specialized domains, right?
Yeah.
So now with the advent of this low code, no code platforms and especially, generative AI, it has democratized AI and put a lot of power in the hands of every other person. It could be a non-developer, it could be a salesperson, it could be an exec, right? So my suggestion is for people who are wanting to onboard this AI journey, AI bandwagon, just start from anywhere. You can. There's a lot of tools and frameworks. Start with the basics, right? See what is large language models, what's large foundation models, how you are interacting with them via prompts. What are different types of prompts? Then you can go a bit deeper into all of these libraries like LangChain and what goes beneath the behind the scenes. Then you can actually, and you have a lot of these playgrounds. So OpenAI gives you a playground. You have $18 worth of free credit or $20 worth of free credit to try out few things. Azure
Mm.
OpenAI, you can start up and you can have this low code no code experience. So there are a lot of these frameworks, lot of these cloud providers. Google does the same thing. You can just go there and have a go at that playground and see how to have this low code no code experience. So just
Got it.
start. And again, you don't require any programming experience as such because you are going to instruct in natural language. So your
Yeah.
English is your programming language. So just have this thirst of, upskilling, reading new things. And I think you can just get into the flow of things, right? Once you're into it, then you are curious, you want to do more, you want to know more, then you can go as technical as you want to. But then I think right now getting into Gen AI is not too difficult if you know the starting points. And the starting points are, as I said, all of these open source platforms, all of these great, cloud provider platforms that can give you that confidence. Copilot Studio, for example, that can give you this confidence to start small, start with a low code, no code experience, and then move on to, greater technical things.
No, all that good stuff. Really like this. So again, people, AI has both sides, good and bad. With this, all the things what we have learned, productivity, automation, low code, no code. I can already see. I can go on how life can be easier when it comes to system administration, security, and we've seen AI and security for so many years for threat monitoring and alert fatigue and all that. So AI is all behind the brain. But on the other side, we will see some concern like around the deep fake, the voice. We already seen those, the video scams. It depends. There's a good use and there's a misuse. So that's being said, Priyanka, I really appreciate it. Appreciate your time being on this podcast, and hopefully we'll see you again with more questions. But really appreciate it all the way from Australia.
Thank you so much, Adnan. Thank you. And it was a pleasure being on this platform. And sure, anytime you want to know more, I'm always there to share about all I know about AI.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.